The planet had forgotten her name. Lily stood alone on the ridge, wind pressing her silver hair to her face like a shroud. Her skin shimmered faintly in the twilight, proof of the mutation that marked her as defective. Her people called it a curse, a genetic flaw, a reason to send her away without trial, without voice. Her exile was a sentence, not just to isolation, but to silence. For weeks she wandered the edge of this barren world, surviving on instinct and spite. The sky never changed here, always painted in shades of violet and morning. The ground beneath, her feet felt like bones, lifeless, ancient, and full of memories that weren't hers. And then came the human. His ship was too loud. The way he stepped out, careless and confident, irritated her instantly. He didn't belong here, yet he acted like he owned the stars. Tall, dark-haired, eyes too blue for any species, he was trouble wrapped in charm. She hated how her gaze lingered. She watched him from a distance at first, expecting him to break or cry or beg for help. He didn't. He scavenged, built a shelter, started a fire like this place didn't terrify him. He even sang sometimes, quietly, as if daring the world to answer back. One night, curiosity got the better of her. She revealed herself, just enough to let him see her silhouette. He didn't flinch, didn't draw a weapon, just looked at her like he'd been waiting. "You're not from here," he said, voice low, rough with warmth. She tilted her head. "Neither are you." "No," he smiled, stepping closer. "I'm Matteo." Names meant nothing to her anymore. But something about the way he said it, like it was an invitation, made her hesitate. She turned, disappearing into the mist before he could ask anything more. The scent of him followed her, earthy, alien, tempting. She hated that. Days passed. She told herself to stay away, but found her feet moving back toward him anyway. He started leaving things out, food, tools, little signs that he knew she was nearby and didn't mind. Or maybe he wanted her to know he was unafraid. She didn't trust it. Kindness wasn't free. But the strange flutter beneath her ribs when he spoke her name, Lily, the only thing she had left, made her pause. He said it like it wasn't broken, like it was sacred, and that terrified her more than exile ever had, because Matteo didn't see the defect. He saw her, and she didn't know what to do with that. Lily wasn't supposed to want more. Her kind had no use for affection, much less desire. Physical closeness was clinical, mechanical. Bonds were forged through logic, not longing. Yet every time she drifted near his camp, every time his scent hit her senses, something inside her purred. Low, restless, aching. She hated it. Hated how it weakened her, and yet she kept coming back. Matteo didn't chase. He didn't demand. He simply was, offering quiet smiles, a shared glance, a warm fire left burning a little longer than needed. He spoke as though the stars might answer him, or as though he knew she was listening from the shadows. He spoke of Earth, its warmth, its noise, the way rain felt when it soaked through clothing and into the skin. It was ridiculous and beautiful. One night she stepped into the firelight. No tricks, no illusions, just herself. He looked up from his small meal, and his expression didn't shift to fear or disgust. No, Matteo simply blinked once, then offered her the other half of his ration. "I didn't think you'd actually show." "I didn't think you'd still be alive," she replied. He laughed. It was deep, unguarded, the kind of sound that wrapped around her and made her inside stir. She didn't understand it. She didn't want to. She sat down, slow and tense, every instinct telling her to leave. But Matteo didn't reach for her. He didn't crowd her space. He just let her be. "Do you have a name?" he asked. "Lily." His lips curved. "That suits you." Her fingers twitched. It was meant to shame me. Then your people clearly had no idea what beauty means. Silence followed. Not the heavy kind, but the warm kind that didn't need filling. She watched the fire dance. In his eyes, too blue, too deep. She tried to ignore the way her body reacted to him, the pull in her chest, the heat pooling beneath her skin. She wasn't supposed to feel this, not for a human, not for anyone. You don't know what I am, she whispered. I know enough. Do you? She snapped, standing abruptly. I was cast out for being broken, for feeling too much, for craving touch. That makes me dangerous to them. Matteo stood too, but slower, more careful. And to me? She stared at him, trembling, not from fear, but from the need to close the space between them. I don't know, she said, voice brittle. Then let me decide for myself. She should have left. She should have turned, vanished into the night like all the times before. But his hand reached out, not to take, not to demand, just offered. Open, waiting. Her fingers slid into his, almost without thought. Warmth, real, and grounding. Her body reacted instantly. A low vibration rolled from her throat, soft and involuntary. His brows rose. Did you just purr? She snatched her hand back, horrified. No, I think you did. His grin turned boyish, teasing. Kind of adorable. I am not adorable, she growled, but her voice lacked venom. No, he said softly. You're something else entirely. The air between them thickened. Her eyes narrowed, but her heart raced in betrayal of her thoughts. She had no defense against that voice, that gaze. He saw her, not the exile, not the flaw, but the woman. And it made her feel dangerous in a whole new way. You keep playing with fire, human. I've always liked a little burn. And suddenly she didn't feel cold anymore. The nights grew shorter, or maybe time simply twisted around them. Lily found herself returning to Matteo's camp like the tide, silent, steady, inevitable. She told herself it was convenience, the warmth of the fire, the resources he offered. But the truth simmered beneath the surface. She wanted him, not just the pull of her instincts, not just the ache his scent stirred deep in her core. She wanted him. His laugh, his quiet strength, his maddening habit of speaking to her like she was not broken. Matteo never asked why she stayed. He only ever smiled when she arrived, handed her food without a word, and told her about Earth like he wanted her to picture it with him. She didn't understand half of what he said. Beaches, festivals, coffee, but she listened anyway. Because his voice calmed the storm inside her. They hadn't touched since that first night. She'd made sure of it. Yet his presence did something to her, something slow and unbearable. She couldn't ignore the way her pulse danced when he looked at her, the way her breath hitched when his fingers brushed too close. Her people had banished her for emotions she could not contain, for sensations that made her lesser, but with Matteo, she didn't feel lesser. She felt alive, and that was far more dangerous. He caught her watching him once, eyes lingering as he cleaned a jagged tool with lazy precision. The muscles of his arms flexed with each motion, and she realized her gaze had gone somewhere it shouldn't. Heat bloomed in her cheeks. You staring, Lily? He asked, amused. I was observing your inefficient method. She lied. He smirked, setting the tool down. You always glare at things you find inefficient? I always glare at humans. Who smirked too much. He stepped closer, slow like he was testing how far she'd let him come. She didn't back away. Maybe I like how you glare at me. You like danger then? Maybe I like you, danger and all. She tensed. The words hit her like a sudden change in gravity, lightness in her chest, weight in her bones. She didn't have a response. Matteo's voice softened. You ever wonder what would have happened if you weren't exiled? No, she said too quickly, Then quieter. Yes. And? I'd still be pretending not to feel. His gaze, darkened, intense, but never forceful. And now, I'm pretending not to want. The silence between them cracked. Matteo reached out, not with boldness, but with quiet patience. His fingers brushed her cheek, feather-light, like a question he didn't want to answer alone. Her skin sparked where he touched. Her breath caught. She didn't purr this time. She shivered. She let him touch her. You don't have to pretend. With me, he murmured. Her voice trembled. I don't know how not to. Then let me show you. And somehow, without moving any closer, he felt everywhere. She turned her face into his palm, eyes closing, the war inside her breaking open. The craving she'd suppressed surged to the surface, raw, aching, undeniable. She wrapped her fingers around his wrist, grounding herself, afraid she might fall into him and never find her way out. Her people had punished her for being too sensitive, too emotional, too hungry for contact. But here, with him, it felt like a gift, not a curse, not something shameful. He made her feel like a queen, not a defect. When she opened her eyes, his expression wasn't lust, it was awe. I don't want to be alone anymore, she whispered. You're not, he said simply. And in that moment, she believed him. Lily woke to the quiet hush of early light spilling across the valley. The alien sun painted Matteo's features in soft amber, his chest rising and falling in a steady rhythm. She hadn't meant to fall asleep beside him, not so close their arms. Brushed, not so near she could hear the flutter of his heartbeat. But she hadn't moved. Her kind didn't sleep in groups. Physical contact during unconsciousness was deemed primitive, a vulnerability never afforded even to mates. Yet here she was, curled on her side, wrapped in his warmth like her body had decided on its own that this was safe. She should have pulled away hours ago. Instead, she reached toward him slowly, as if her fingers might betray her, hovering just above the curve of his jaw. He stirred beneath her touch, eyes fluttering open, and she froze. His gaze met hers, groggy and golden in the rising light. Morning, he whispered, voice gravel-edged and soft. You stayed. I didn't mean to, he smiled. But you did. She didn't answer. There were too many thoughts tumbling through her mind. Her people would have been appalled. She was already cast out, already labeled defective. Too easily touched, too curious, too broken. But what was the cost of holding back now? What was the point in denying herself something that finally made her feel whole? Matteo sat up, stretching lazily, unaware, or perhaps fully aware, of how her eyes followed the lines of his body. He was different from her species in every way, softer, less physically imposing, but everything about him felt commanding, as if his strength came from knowing exactly who he was, as if his vulnerability was a kind of quiet power. I had a dream about you, he said. Lily blinked. Was it pleasant? Very, he said, eyes lingering on her lips. She looked away, pulse racing. You dream too much. I dream just enough, especially when you're in them. Her eyes flicked back to his. You're flirting again, he shrugged. Can you blame me? Lily stood quickly, needing space, needing air. The ground was still cool beneath her bare feet. The wind curled around her skin, trying to ground her, but nothing calmed the storm building inside. Not fear, no, something far more dangerous. She turned to him, arms crossed, expression sharp. This isn't supposed to happen. You and me. Why? Not? Because I was raised to believe connection is weakness. That desire is a defect. Matteo rose too, voice quiet. Then maybe the ones who taught you that were wrong. She stared at him, unblinking. And if they weren't? Then I'm falling for a beautiful defect. Her heart stuttered. He stepped closer, one hand brushing against her forearm. Lily, everything you are, every emotion you try to hide, it's Not weakness. It's humanity. And maybe that's the irony, that an alien taught me how to feel more human. She wanted to laugh, or cry, or run, but she didn't move. You make me feel like I was built for more than exile, she said, voice barely audible. That's because you were. His hand slipped into hers again, fingers weaving like they belonged there. The contact sent a rush through her entire body, not instinct, not biology, something deeper. She tilted her head, studied his face. If I stay, she whispered, you won't be safe. They might come for me. He stepped even closer until their breath mingled. Then let them try, because I'm not letting you go. She should have been angry, terrified. She should have warned him that her people were ruthless, that no one left exile alive if they were found trying to return, but instead all she felt was his certainty. And the strangest thing, she believed it. He reached for her cheek again, thumb brushing the edge of her skin. Lily, he murmured, don't run. I've always run. Then stop, stay, fight with me, for us. The words echoed, settling into the cracks of her soul. She leaned into him, letting their foreheads touch, and for the first time in her life, Lily didn't feel broken. She felt chosen. The forest had changed. It was the same ancient stretch of silver-leafed trees and blue-tinged mist, but everything felt sharper now, more alive. Maybe it was Lily's senses heightened by something other than instinct, something emotional, something warm and terrifying. Or maybe it was just because Mateo was beside her, brushing branches aside like he'd walked this trail his whole life, even though he hadn't. He wasn't from here. He didn't belong. And yet, he did. You walk like... You've claimed the place, she said, following behind him. He glanced back, grin playing at his lips. I'm just trying to impress a certain exile with a mean glare and a softer heart than she wants to admit. I do not glare, she lied. He laughed, loud and easy. You glare beautifully. She rolled her eyes, but the smile tugging at her mouth betrayed her. They moved together like they were synced. Not perfectly, not without missteps. Mateo still stumbled on root systems he didn't expect, and Lily still found his smell far too distracting. But there was a rhythm now. A pull between them neither of them wanted to sever. The trail opened into a clearing Lily remembered from childhood. Long ago, before she was ever labeled defective, before she'd ever questioned what it meant to feel. A place she used to come. To alone, to hide her desires and practice how to silence them. Now she stepped into it with him, the one person who made those desires sing. Mateo looked around, breath caught. This place, it's stunning. It used to be mine, she said, voice barely above a whisper. Before they decided I wasn't worthy of claiming anything. He looked at her then, gaze solemn. Then let's reclaim it. Lily blinked. What? I mean it, he said, stepping closer. Let's take it back. This place, this moment, you. Her chest tightened. It's not that simple. I know, he murmured. But I also know you're more than what they said you were. She turned away, unable to meet the softness in his eyes. You don't know what they'll do if they find me with you. I don't care, he said, and his voice was stronger. Now. Firmer. I've seen what life is without you. I'm not going back to that. Not when I've touched what it means to want someone. To need them. The words hit harder than she expected. She wanted to retreat, to hide behind sarcasm and sharpness, but she couldn't, not with him. Not when every part of her was unraveling under the weight of how much she wanted this, wanted him. They taught me that needing someone makes you vulnerable, she confessed. Mateo stepped close, hand ghosting along her jawline. Needing. Someone makes you brave, she exhaled, trembling. You don't understand. My people didn't just exile me for feeling too much. They feared it. They feared me. I don't fear you, he said, I crave you. The words melted something inside her, something frozen and buried so deep she'd forgotten what it felt like to let someone in. Mateo didn't just want her body, he wanted all the messy, broken pieces of her heart. And the most dangerous part? She wanted to give them to him. She stepped into him then, closing the distance. Their lips didn't meet yet, but the air between them charged like the sky before a storm. Then take me, she whispered, as I am, with all the damage, all the pieces. I want every one of them, he said, voice thick with emotion. And I'll spend as long as it takes putting them back together. And just like that, she kissed him. It was slow, intense, like the culmination of every stolen glance, every breathless night, every unspoken promise. It wasn't a kiss of ownership or domination. It was a kiss that said, I see you. A kiss that tasted like hope. When they finally pulled apart, Lily rested her forehead against his. You make me want to believe in something again. Then believe in us, he said, because I already do. And she did. Heaven help her, she did. The days passed, not like time slipping away, but like memories being carved into the bones of her. Lily didn't know when the forest stopped feeling like a place of exile and began feeling like home again. Maybe it was when Mateo started fixing the broken tech hidden in the ruins of her old den, laughing each time he got something to light up. Or maybe it was when he fell asleep in the hammock she'd woven years ago, limbs dangling, snoring softly, trusting her world like it had never been cruel to him. She watched him now, crouched by the stream, sleeves rolled up, trying to wrangle a water purifier module into something functional. His brow was furrowed, tongue caught between his teeth. In concentration, he looked ridiculous. He looked perfect. You're doing it wrong, she called. I am innovating, he called back. You're going to short it again. He grinned, not even turning. You love it when I mess things up. Admit it. She crouched beside him, brushing a few strands of hair from his cheek. I love that you're too stubborn to stop trying. He paused, his fingers stilling. His eyes met hers. You just said you love something about me. Her throat tightened. It doesn't mean what you think it means exactly what I think it means. He leaned in slowly, deliberately. You love me. I tolerate you. Barely. His smile softened. You don't have to pretend, Lily. Not with me. And she didn't. Not anymore. She sank to the ground beside him, knees touching his. I don't know how to be this. I was taught that love was a chemical misfire, a failing, something to burn out of you. He took her hand gently. That's the biggest lie they ever told you. She stared at their fingers, laced together. His skin was warmer, rougher. Hers was cool and silver-threaded, marked with the shimmer of her lineage. Together, they looked like contradiction. And yet, they fit. You never asked what they did. To me, she murmured, after the exile. I figured you'd tell me when you were ready. She hesitated. Then, they stripped my name, my lineage crest, even the purring response. It's not just emotional, it's neural. They tried to dull it, suppress my instincts to connect. He inhaled slowly. But it still happens. When I touch you, she nodded. You reawakened something they almost erased. Mateo cupped her face with one hand, eyes burning with something that wasn't pity. It was fury, tempered by devotion. They don't get to take that from you. You're not broken. You never were. I still fear them. Then we face them, together. You'd stand against an entire alien society for me. I'd stand against the universe if it meant protecting you. She blinked, emotions surging up too fast to contain. You're ridiculous. And completely yours, he whispered. She kissed him again, fierce, desperate, full of everything she hadn't known how to say. When they pulled apart, Their breaths came fast and uneven. "You make me purr," she admitted, cheeks flushed. "I noticed," he teased, brushing his lips across her cheekbone. "It's not just a sound. It's surrender. Trust. You have. No idea how rare it is." Mateo leaned in, voice low and tender. "Then I'll earn it, every day." She rested her head on his shoulder, letting silence wrap around them. But peace never lasted long. Later that night, a ship passed overhead, silent, matte black, marked with the crest of her homeworld. They both saw it at once. Mateo moved closer, protective. She didn't flinch, she only stared. "They're looking for you," he said. "No," she replied quietly. "They're hunting me." Mateo took her hand. "Then let them come. I won't let you get caught in this. You don't get to protect me from you, not anymore." She smiled then, faint and fierce. "All right," she whispered. "We fight." Mateo pulled her into his arms, and she melted into the safety of his hold. There was fear in her heart, yes, but no longer for herself, only for the world that dared to threaten the man who'd made her feel like a queen, even when she'd been cast out like a mistake. And if they came, they'd learn what love looked like when it was defended by a human who never backed down, and an alien girl who purred only for him. Together, they were no longer exile and outsider. They were something more, something no one would dare try to break again.